Chameleon.
Malta.
Malta. Oh, okay.
Come.
Chameleon.
Right.
I was singing this song because I was listening to it whilst I was at church today in between services, and the first muso showed up for music practice. Sorry to beat your intro, but the first muso showed up for music practice, and he's like, "Oh, you watch Eurovision? You listen to Eurovision songs?" And then I had a 10-minute conversation about Eurovision until practice started.
He did too?
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh yeah, do you read all these sites?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not.
You're remaining unbiased.
I analyze them, but that's about it. But that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Anyway, I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, hi everyone, it's me, Michela James. Welcome back to MJT Reviews. I'm here with Elysse Turner. We're discussing Malta, Chameleon by Michela. So Michela, for you to know that the national selection was actually, they have a X Factor Malta, and the prize is that if you win X Factor Malta, you get a record label and a recording contract, and you also get to represent Malta at Eurovision. So that's what she's doing. She won it, and this is the song Chameleon. So what did you think of Chameleon, Elysse?
Cool. Well, let's start with our musical breakdown. Obviously, we have a female singer who only sings in one language for this song. It's English. And our vocal range is A#3 to C#5. And our key is, I wrote E flat major, but if I'm talking in sharps, that's actually going to be D sharp major, which I didn't quite do the maths when I said that. That's okay. Our time signature is 4/4 at 98 beats per minute, so another moderato song, or moderately played moderate pace song. And then we have 6 chords. Now, before I tell you what chords we have, what's interesting is that we have 2 chords that would not usually be found in the scale. So our usual standard chords are chord 1, 2, 4, and 5, which is a major, minor, major, respectively. And then we have a chord 2, but instead of it being minor, it is major. So we've already got the minor chord in the usual standard, but then we've got an additional odd one. Instead of it just being an F minor chord in our repertoire, they've added an F major chord in towards the breakdown section, which I'll get to in a minute. And then they've also, in that breakdown section, added another 5 chord, but this time it's a minor. So instead of just having the B flat major chord, they have the B flat minor chord as well in the breakdown. So that was pretty cool. In terms of instruments, we have our vocals. We have a trumpet, which is played both muted and unmuted. And so the difference between that is that it's kind of got a little bit of a wah, 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 wah. When it's muted, it's got that sort of vibe that you get in the real hook at the start. Then later on, it's got a little trill where they haven't muted it, and it's got a much more sharper, clearer, less muffled sort of sound. Then we've got electric guitar, we've got some drums, we've got some claps, we've got some keyboard, and some piano as well towards the end. So it's quite a few layers. You don't really hear them so much at the start, but towards the end, they've really built up. They sort of by surprise, which is kind of cool. And then in terms of structure, we have our intro for 4 bars. We have verse 1 for 8, a chorus for 8, and then a breakdown, which is the Chameleon section for 8 bars. We have verse 2 for 8, chorus for 8, breakdown for 4, a bridge for 8, and then a chorus for 16 with a final bar as our coda/breakdown. It says Chameleon once, basically. So that's the song in a nutshell, which is kind of cool. Any questions before I start on no Spotify rant?
Oh, no Spotify. Yeah, I noticed that straight away. I was going to ask you, what did you think of this particular instrumental section in the chorus?
The breakdown?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mind it because you still have the singing, and so it's not just instruments. You have stuff happening in the instruments, and it's like it's not like I almost called it a chorus, but it doesn't happen consistently enough with a pre-chorus beforehand. So I'm like, well, as much as I want to call it the chorus because it's got Chameleon, like the title of the piece in it, it doesn't quite fit that mold because we don't have it at the end, which means the other one's probably it. But yeah, it was interesting. I really liked the chord structures there because they were different. Like it really had that jarring sort of sound to it, which I quite liked. I really enjoyed that they sort of strayed away from their usual chord structure. So I enjoyed it.
Cool. So yeah, so you checked this song out on Spotify, did you?
Yes, and I've double checked today before I've recorded because I noticed that Montenegro at the start of the week did not have a Spotify track either, but now does. So hats off to you guys. You've been listening to possibly one of my rants from a previous video. Malta, you need to catch up. Earn that free dollar whilst you've got it at your fingertips, because this hype around Eurovision is realistically going to last until Eurovision happens, and then you're starting to get into the long tail effect, which is where the listeners decline, the amount of times it's played declines, and you're going to earn less money. So if you want money, you should upload your song to Spotify. You're welcome. Wise words from Elysse. But all serious, like all jokes aside about Spotify, as much as I think it would be good to have it on Spotify, especially because it's such a catchy piece as well. It's got a really hip, strong like thing happening with their instruments. It just really ties together so well. Yeah, so let's have a look at what I thought beyond, structure and lack of Spotify. I really thought the hook at the start with the muted trumpet was a really funky way to start the piece. It's a little bit different. It's really catchy, and we had like a bass sort of riff at the start of Island, I think it was the 22 song. But this one, because it's got the trumpet, you've got that much brighter sound. It's a higher noise sort of coming through, and I think that just really lifts the piece. As much as I love a bass intro, this had something interesting, and in my headphones I couldn't quite like put my finger on what the instrument was until I took them off, because it just had that much more it was much more acoustically durable, I guess this is the wrong word, but I could hear the differences in tonality and the way that it was played once I took my headphones off, because it had the acoustics of my room to echo, which was really cool. I think the chords and the breakdown were really cool, as like I've just said. And then in terms of the video, is that it looks like something that sort of came out of a magazine. So Greece had that sort of vibe as well, and we saw from a comment that it was directed by someone who does those sort of photo shoots. But these guys have a much more vibrant outlook. And even though there's a lot of still shots and very little movement in each shot, I think it really worked because they had the lyrics overlaid onto the video. I think that was a really nice touch. It's not something I've seen in the Eurovision videos we've looked at so far, but it worked nicely. And then it wasn't just like, I'm going to chuck text up on a screen from Microsoft Video Editor or whatever, Windows Movie Maker or iMovie. It's not just a plain, we're just going to chuck the text up. It was interactive text. The text moved. The text had like personality. It changed with the lyrics. It really reflected what the song was saying. And so I thought that was a really nice way to balance those like minimalist, not minimalistic shots, but those not much moving happening in the shots, like those really artistic shots, and then still have the message of the song coming through, but using the lyrics to sort of drive that emotion. So in that respect, I think it did a lot better than Greece in that photo shoot style. It was also really bright and colourful, which really kind of works considering the name. But also, talking a bit more about the name of the song and the lyrics of the song, what I thought was really interesting is I thought that the song lyrically would be about blending in and keeping your head down, because a chameleon, they change to sort of fit the environment they're in, they adapt, they blend in. But it wasn't so much about that. It kind of subverted that, and it took the focus towards the colors of the chameleon, the potential changes the chameleon can have, and sort of said, well, we don't want to, we want to stand out and to like break the expectations of what can be. And I thought that was a really interesting approach to have that sort of chameleon essence get in. And I wasn't expecting it after reading the title, so I kind of liked that.
Yeah, nice. So if this song came on Spotify, would you end up listening through the whole song?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I just watched the jury review of on Sunday.
Yeah.
Who's that? Like, what country was that? Romania. First of all, the other juries are wrong. It was a great song, but like also like the concept of not being able to listen through to like a whole song. There are very few songs that I will not listen through. We all know Slovenia is like that one, but like I don't know. Like there are very like. What does it take for you to skip a song? Because for me to skip a song, it has to be really annoying. Like really, really grating, and it will only be after the first few listens that I'll be like, all right, I'm done with this. But I've listened to this one like at least 5 times today, and I'm not sick of it. I've listened to it again, and I don't mind it. And it wasn't the first time I listened to it this week, even though it's not on Spotify. It's really catchy, and I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. I don't think I'm actually not a fan of skipping through songs. Spotify gives you statistics at the end of the year, and they were like, well done, in a whole year you only skipped 44 songs. And I was like, wow.
Oh, I want access to these statistics.
Yeah.
Please give me the data.
And
that's cool.
But yeah, also I've been creating a playlist already, and it's more that I choose more of when I'm going to start the playlist, you know. That's more my thing. So I guess I kind of skip them from even playing. Like I'll be like, oh, I'll start from that song. But yeah.
So you listen to your playlist in order then?
Yeah, I do it. Yeah, for sure. But I've been ranking mine. Like I'll be doing it from my least favorite to my favorite. So I'll pick the point where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm into the songs the most, I guess.
See, it's interesting though, because a lot of ordered playlists, like that's not really a thing you see much of these days. iTunes, Spotify, they really brought in the idea of, no, we don't need to follow the order. We can shuffle it. We can have a randomized combination each time we listen. And so like listening to things in a certain order is like a feature from like CDs and tapes and records, which has kind of become less important in a sense. So I just think it's interesting that you listen to your playlist in order.
Yes. Well, I would, but I must say something different to the old days with the old days back in my day with iPods and offline music devices. I think with streaming like Spotify anyway, I never like their shuffle. Like I'll realize I might have, say, like an interesting instance, I actually made a playlist of all the songs that were nominated for a Grammy. And so you know how there's a contemporary Christian section nomination. Yeah. So I had 5 contemporary Christian songs. I shuffled literally 380 songs, and the 3 songs that played together were the contemporary Christian songs. And I'm like, the shuffle has some kind of analytic thing to it. So I'm not a fan.
That's the other thing. What is shuffling? Because you cannot have a truly randomized system on a computer. I'm sorry, I'm going into nerd territory. But like, even in real life, what is randomization? What is pure chance? Like it's not a thing. It's about statistics of it's less likely to be associated with this song next, and then with a computer they're generating an algorithm of unlikelihoods, but it's not random, it's not shuffled per se. It is generated to seem like it's more random. Anyway, I'll cut that short.
So the Maltese watching this like, but what are they going to say about the song? We're just talking about shuffle.
The song's great. I'd shuffle it any day.
Okay, great. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Elysse.
I'm here with Stuart Wilders from ESC Fan TV. Hi, Stuart.
Hey, Mitchell, how are you?
Great. We're talking about Chameleon by, is it Michela?
Michela Pace
Yeah.
or Michela now.
What do you think of Chameleon?
It's a great. I think it's about time Malta wins Eurovision. I really do. They've been trying for many, many years. They would love to host Eurovision. They would love to win Eurovision, and I'd love to go back to Malta. Malta's a fantastic country, and so they've got a really good chance. Michela won the X Factor in Malta. I thought she'd win it from the start. I was introduced to Michela Pace pretty early on. And saw it right the way through. She won the X Factor fairly comfortably. The song's well written. It's kind of it's sort of a bit dancey, a bit poppy. There's a bit of reggae in there also, I think. It's a really cool song actually. It's sort of really modern, really cool. Not what you'd expect from Michela. I sort of expected her to be a ballad, but I think everyone will really enjoy this come Tel Aviv. Interestingly, she's not doing the rounds of the circuit to promote the song. So she's pulled out of a lot of the pre-parties. Not sure the reason why. But so we're kind of going to hear it raw when we get to Tel Aviv. And I kind of like that. We saw that with Cyprus last year. Let's face it, didn't do them any harm, did it?
I think that was a kind of cool thing with Sound of Silence as well, that it didn't do the rounds and people were like, oh, but yeah.
So yeah, similar thing. I could see Malta doing really well. I really could. For me, I think it will definitely qualify just based on the audio track and the fact we know she can sing and she can sing live. I think this probably needs choreography though, and I don't know if she's a dancer. So I think there's a couple of gaps there in my kind of knowledge of her in the song, and I'm not sure how that will work. But you know, I've every faith that Malta going to put off something quite spectacular this year.
Did she ever do a dance number on X Factor?
Don't recall seeing it. If she did, I missed that one. So she certainly kind of, when you think of Michela, you think of ballads and a phenomenal voice. So yeah, let's wait and see.
Do you think this?
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Do you think this is radio friendly as well?
Oh, it's definitely radio friendly. It'll be a hit regardless.
Awesome. All right. Great. Thanks so much, Stuart.
Hi, so due to unforeseen circumstances, Lam will not be in this video, so we'll get him to do a synopsis video during the ranking video, and I'm very excited about that video, so very eager. If you want to see that, just stay tuned for that, and until next time, bonsoir Europe, and goodbye.
Who will make the cut? Who will win our hearts? MJ.